afternoon. I think you will be too.
Patrice, doesn't this bad weather make you mad?
You know what? As a matter of fact, sometimes I think it does.
I was just kidding.
I know, but this morning, I had a terrible morning. And getting things, and I was really angry. And you know, we've heard for years and years and years and years that you're supposed to ventilate that anger and let people know how you feel. And this afternoon, we're going to be talking with Carol Tavris about anger. She is a doctor at PhD in social psychology. And we'll be talking about anger, the misunderstood emotion. She says it's not a good idea to ventilate and let it all out. So we'll find out why she says that.
She says it's not?
Not.
So you should discipline yourself and remain calm.
Basically,
that's good for your physiological well-being?
That's what I want to find out. I want to find out if we're going to create a lot of ulcers.
She better get the right answers. No. Actually, anger, everybody gets angry from time to time. And of course, unfortunately, people, as they get older, most people tend to get sick, too, for some reason or other. And Nathan Pritikin is with us today, and as you know, he has longevity centers in both California and in eastern Pennsylvania. And he has, for years and years, the last 30 years especially, studied nutrition, exercise. And he has a new book out entitled The Pritkin Promise, where he has a program of 28 days for exercise and nutrition that he says can work wonders.
Change our lives.
So he's, of course, very well-known and respected authority in the country. We're going to talk to him and see what he proposes for good health.
I think that's a good idea.
No reason to get mad at that.
None at all. So we're going to take a break, folks, and come back with Carol Tavris in a moment on anger.
Ever eat polysorbate 80? Guar gum? How about diglycerides? Well, you may be eating them right now, unless you're eating Breyer's ice cream. Only Breyer's ice cream has this pledge of purity. It guarantees you pure, all-natural ingredients, like fresh cream, rich chocolate. Nothing artificial, ever. Breyer's ice cream. Taste the difference for yourself.
I've told you thousands of ways to make housework easier. Now get my best household hints in this week's Star. Find out everything from getting rid of fish odor to an easy way to slice pizza.
Also in the Star, Grammy sensation Michael Jackson's bizarre eating habits worry his family. Why he weighs less now than he did at 15. Plus the secret plot to bring back Luke and Laura, Charlene Tilton's terrifying marriage ordeal, and How to Be a Winner by TV's top evangelist.
Find out where everybody finds out and look for my best hints in this week's Star.
The Ultimate Fitness Complex is coming to Pittsburgh, and Scandinavian is bringing it. This 36,000 square foot club will house the finest exercise equipment by Nautilus, Lifecycle, York, and many others. Cushioned running track, racquetball, and much more. Save 60% on your charter membership. Call now for these savings. Enjoy the 25-meter lap pool, 4 workout floors, even nursery service for children. 60% off for a limited time. Call 833-7200 now. Scandinavian, where America comes for fitness.
This afternoon, we're going to be talking about the misunderstood emotion, and I think all of us are pretty aware of it, anger. It's definitely a part of our lives, and we're going to be visiting with a woman who is a doctor and has written this book called Anger, the Misunderstood Emotion, and she says, interestingly enough, that it is not necessarily a good idea to ventilate, to let those feelings out. How about a nice welcome for Carol Tavris? Carol, good to have you here. You're the first person in years who has said, don't let it out. And I have to ask you first right off the bat, why? Why should we not let people know that we're angry?
Well, let us talk here. There's an important difference about letting it out and how you let it out. I'm not arguing here that people should never express anger. If you have a grievance, you have a problem, of course you want to talk to the person you're angry with. What I object to is the notion that by ventilating rage when you're feeling angry, you will automatically feel wonderful and terrific. You will be much healthier. You will feel terrific. In fact, the research shows just the opposite. When people express anger while they're angry, they stimulate themselves to greater anger. They tend to make the other person angry back at them, say and do things that later you wish you'd never said or done. And moreover, they create angry habits, hostile habits, which means that the next time you're feeling angry, what you do is let off steam, say whatever comes to mind. In other words, it's a philosophy, a practice that is very selfish, that never takes the other person into consideration, and doesn't consider the effects of your anger on someone else. So I believe, first of all, that we can control anger. We can learn to express it in constructive ways, but we don't need to be controlled by it, and we can learn these beneficial ways of expressing
Now,
anger.
years and years ago, I mean, I would say before the 60s and 70s, people, and people have always been angry at some point in their lives, but that was a time when we didn't express our anger as we have been told over the past 10 or 20 years that we should.
Well, I think two things here. First of all, our society is one that values anger and values aggressiveness. You know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's true. That goes way back in our history, this notion that the individual is to be celebrated and the individual has a right to express his or her feelings and should. But in fact, then what happened, of course, is that we got this psychological advice coming along and feeding into this, and adding that not only is it a good way to get your way, being angry, but it's healthy for you. Suddenly we had psychologists and medical people telling us it was the healthy thing to do as well as the right thing to do. Now, the research shows, again, just the opposite, that the people who are at greatest risk of heart disease and other illness are not the people who are slow to anger, who suppress it, who think twice before they speak, who sleep on it overnight, who aren't so ready to be provoked. The people who are at greatest risk are the hotheads, the people who are angry all the time, who are hostile, who are ready to sound off the minute they think some little thing has insulted them. So this is a very different notion about the use of anger and what is good or bad for our health.
Do you suggest, now there were a lot of devices that came out then in the 70s too, like pummel pillows when you get mad and you know, hit with pillows, or go out in a woods somewhere and just scream. Those kinds of releases. What do you think of those kinds of releases?
Well, what people do when they're angry is going to become their anger habit, right? So you have to be careful what you do when you're angry, because you're going to end up with good habits or bad habits. What I object to about the aggressive expression of anger is that it teaches people violent habits. Now, all of those things, kicking, screaming, shouting, waving your arms, pounding pillows, and beating up on the cat. All of those are anger strategies that tend to feed anger, keep the anger going, and make the world angry back at you. So I don't think they're very useful to you as an individual or to the person you are angry with. There are many other things people can do when they're angry that will calm down that adrenaline, that will allow you to cool off, that are more peaceful and more constructive. People can learn to put some distance between feeling angry and speaking about their anger. This includes, you know, one woman I interviewed told me that she was married in the togetherness years when you weren't supposed to go to bed mad. You weren't supposed to go to bed on a quarrel. She said after 8 years of sleepless nights, it occurred to them that they could go to sleep angry. And what they learned was that the next morning, half the time, it wasn't anything important, it wasn't worth discussing, and there was no need to have the argument at all. And if it was something important and was worth talking about, then they could do it in a calmer way, in a way that is designed to solve the problem, not just alienate the other person.
Okay, now when we are growing up and our parents are disciplining us, there is always, I mean, I think we are taught certain ways to respond to different situations from very, very early on. So if I'm a child who's allowed to have tantrums, does this mean that probably as I grow older, I will have a tantrum of some sort in expressing my anger throughout my life?
Yes, you will have learned that a tantrum is a good way to get your way. And I think many parents are intimidated by what I regard as the bad advice, the dangerous advice of some psychologists, that a tantrum is a normal, healthy, natural, and wonderful thing. What a tantrum is a 2-year-old's way of trying to get his way. And as we get older, there are other things we can do to try to make our grievances known. But if a tantrum has worked for you and has gotten you the results you want, you'll end up like John McEnroe. You'll just do it all the time.
Have tantrums constantly. Now, because we have heard that expressing anger is the healthy thing to do, if we are repressing or holding in or being, as you say, putting some distance between and trying to work these things on ourselves, is this then an unhealthy thing? Are we looking to create ulcers and migraine headaches and all kinds of other physiological problems?
Well, first of all, let me just say, there is no evidence that suppressed anger has anything to do with ulcers at all. It used to be you had an ulcer and the first thing your doctor told you was to go and ventilate your anger, right? In fact, people with ulcers are just as likely to be expressors as suppressors. But I think it does not make any sense for your health or your sanity or your happiness to suppress bad feelings about a continuing bad situation. But it's the situation in that case that's causing the stress and the unhappiness. That's what has to be fixed. If you don't direct your anger or your depression or your anxiety toward fixing the situation, it doesn't matter if you pound pillows or suppress the anger or dance around the house, you're not solving the problem. So if you look at continuing chronic anger as a sign, as a symptom of something wrong in a relationship or at work or in a larger situation, then you should use it to do something about the situation, not just keep spinning your wheels and ventilating your rage at your neighbors.
And misplacing it.
And
yeah.
misplacing it. That will do you no good at all.
We're going to take a break, Carol, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about anger and some very constructive ways, as you mentioned, to kind of ventilate it, although that's not the term you want to use. To use the anger. We're also taking calls from our audience at home at 333-9363. We'll be back in a moment with Carol Tavris.
Here's Andrew Duggan with a rare opportunity for people aged 50 to 74.
How many times have we all wished we could turn back the clock, get a second chance? Take buying life insurance, for example. Wouldn't it be nice to be 25 again and pay a fraction of the cost you and I do and be guaranteed term life insurance? The kind experts say is your best buy. Now, for just $5 a month, you can, because one life insurance company, National Home Life, doesn't believe you're 50 to 74 years old, but 50 to 74 years young. And for only $5 a month, you can be guaranteed acceptance in this brand new life insurance program. Guaranteed means without a physical examination, without answering difficult health questions. In a word, you cannot be turned down if you're 50 to 74 years young. And remember this, your $5 a month actually buys you more protection than any other type of life insurance, because this is term life insurance. Solid, no-frills coverage without the complicated investment features to increase the cost. This is money that will be paid directly to your family when they need it most. National Home Life would like to send you a free information package detailing their remarkable $5 a month term life insurance program. And I frankly urge you to take advantage of the opportunity, because it isn't often people our age get a second chance when it comes to buying life insurance, and rarely term insurance for only $5 a month. Now, here's the number to call.
Call 1-800-445-4500 or write National Home Life, Department A, Valley Forge, PA 19493. Look for this flyer when your package arrives. You'll get an additional $1,000 or more of accidental death benefits by calling now, 1-800-445-4500.
Our guest this afternoon is Carol Tavris, author of Anger, the Misunderstood Emotion, and we are talking this afternoon about anger and being angry. When we think of the emotions and people that are always constantly spouting off, the people that you called hotheads, and a lot of others of us refer to them as hotheads as well, are we looking at people who are probably dealing with some other problem very badly? I mean, that they are constantly spouting off, that everything is the turning point, everything is the clicking point for them?
Well, it could be. I mean, there are many reasons that people feel angry, and there are many ways that they express it, obviously. I think that very often in our society, because hotheads, they're scary, you know, people cower with a hothead, and so I think we tend to think, you see, for instance, you may say, in order not to feel angry at a hothead, well, the poor fellow, he's just under a lot of stress and pressure, and I really won't feel angry because he's not treating me personally this way. He treats everybody in a lousy way. If you have that attitude toward a hothead, it will make you less angry in dealing with such a person. On the other hand, if you were to say, it is just me he's angry at, and he's treating me this way because he wants to impress me or he wants me to give in to him and so on, then you are perhaps likely to feel angry back and be puzzled as to what to do about it.
Which sex deals with anger best?
Oh, I love that question. I love that question because everybody thinks that men have the edge on maturity when it comes to anger. Men are so direct and forthright, and they express it in a completely natural way. This is baloney. The evidence is really that neither sex has the great truth in dealing with anger. Both sexes have problems with anger when they are angry at someone who has more power and authority than they do. And that's understandable. Expressing anger to someone up the hierarchy from you has risks, and people know this. And expressing anger to someone with more power than you have raises your blood pressure, your heart rate, and is really very stressful, which everyone knows, and is true for men and women. And conversely, I'm sad to say that men and women are equally likely to use their loved ones as verbal punching bags. Both sexes feel as free to express anger to their loved ones, their children, their pets, and so on. So now, of course, people then say, well, but women have a special problem expressing anger. They're afraid to express anger. They want to be nice to the other person, and so on. They have to learn to be assertive, and so on. That's true. But for every woman who has been raised to be nice and not rock the boat, there is a man who's been raised the same way. So it's not that one sex has a better or worse time with anger. Both sexes do. It depends on the situation they're in.
The given situation, okay.
And who they're angry with.
That's true. Okay, we've got a phone call for you, Carol, on line 2. Go ahead, line 2, you're on the air.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask Carol a question. How do you cope or live with someone for 38 years who has a short fuse in plain English? He's a good person, but as I was listening, she said they seem to take their anger and their fear out on the loved one. Well, I've got to a point in 38 years of marriage that I don't like this anymore. So now, in order to cope with this situation, which doesn't happen as often as it did 20 years ago, I have started to scream back, because he is the type of person, he will have his say and tell you what he thinks. Then he clams up and he won't answer me.
That's it. There are a lot of people like that. Yeah.
How do I handle this? Basically, I was always a very easygoing person, and then, as she said, I was told by my doctor, if you want to scream, scream.
Let him
if you
know.
want to break dishes, break dishes. So
Now,
what do I do?
Well, what it's done is make you angrier, right?
I suppose it really has.
Well, that's exactly what happens. When people learn to respond by screaming back, all it does is teach them to become screamers. What the problem is here is nothing to do so much with anger as with communicating and how you talk to each other. I find many people in this kind of situation where they're the nice, easygoing ones, and they're told they're the ones with the anger problem. The one with the anger problem is the one with the short fuse. So let me say here to begin with that it seems to me that the problem is how you talk about what you're feeling and how you communicate these things to each other. You say for 38 years, you know, we've had this pattern set up, and now suddenly you want it to be different. Well, it's going to be hard to change somebody after 38 years. But the first thing you can say when you're not in an argument, quite apart from an argument, when you're just, you know, having a nice dinner together, is, I want to talk to you about how we argue. I don't like yelling. I don't want to yell back at you. But I have to say to you that when you yell at me, I feel sick to my stomach, I feel tense and nervous, and I don't like it. So when it happens in the future, I'm not going to put up with it. When you yell at me this way, what I'm going to do is leave, and then when you're calmer, I'll be happy to talk to you. Now that acknowledges the right of the other person to have angry feelings and to want to talk about them, but it doesn't require you to be the person who puts up with it. All expressions of anger between two people take two people. You set up habits between the two of you, and both of you are responsible for those habits. In this case, we have one who has got a short fuse and the other who's accepted it. And by accepting it, she's taught him that he can get away with expressing anger this way. So they both have to change. And I have found in my experience that many men and women who have short fuses are unhappy about it, really, privately. They don't like
blowing up like that.
Blowing up like that. They wish they could control it. They don't like often what they say afterwards. And part of the reason that they clam up is that they feel bad about what they've just said or done.
But can't bring themselves to apologize for whatever has happened.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And of course, if they feel safe in yelling at their loved one, then they don't think there's anything to apologize for. Yeah. So you have to say exactly what you're feeling. I'm unhappy about the way you express anger. How can I help you? You know, control this. And both sides can learn to change.
Okay, we've got another phone call for you, then on line 3. Line 3, you're on the air with Dr. Carol Tavris. Go ahead.
Yes, I am an abused wife, and first it started with emotional abuse and then later physical abuse. And I took exception to your guest's comment about not developing any sort of health problems when you suppress anger for years. about 13 to be exact. I did, in fact, suppress my anger and accepted this and developed colitis, a seizure disorder. Self-esteem was totally shot. I mean, I know that's not physical, but...
Are you still in this marriage?
Yes, I am.
And has it changed?
Very little, very little. But at the beginning, you know, I was just feeling that these things were true, which is, of course, the story of most abused wives. I've got all kinds of help, but...
Please understand me. Please understand me. I'm not saying that suppressed anger has no bad health consequences, but it is not your anger that caused those problems. It was your husband's behavior toward you and the stress in that marriage that was the reason for your difficulties. And I think
two people angry at each other. I was angry at him, but I couldn't express it. As soon as I started expressing it, my symptoms let up. But I'm still locked in the situation because I've not yet found a job so I can separate and get a divorce.
Well, this is a good example. If you are able to express anger back to him, and many women are afraid of expressing anger toward abusive husbands because it comes right back to harm them, of course.
Yes, it does.
Well, so then you see in that case, it's not, expressing anger isn't helping you either. This is a situation that has to be dealt with, and for which I think counseling would be a very good idea. There are many places, many centers.
We've been everywhere. I mean, it's kind of a hopeless situation, but I just wanted to let the public know that you can suffer physically from not expressing what you feel is right about you and for you.
You can suffer seriously from powerlessness, from the feeling that you can't change a bad situation. But let me encourage you, there are many things that you can do about this and many groups of women who will help you extricate yourself from this situation.
Thank you for calling. Good luck to you, by the way. That is, I mean, that is an extreme, and unfortunately it is an extreme that exists very prevalently in our society. But as you mentioned, that the anger is not necessarily the problem there. There's some other very serious...
The problem is the powerlessness, is feeling trapped by a situation that you can't change. People who are victims of discrimination or harassment or crime, who are victims of a terrible situation, can indeed suffer as a result.
Here, we're going to have to wrap things up here, but we're going to be visiting with some other guests. But I wanted to thank you for joining us and to remind you, our audience, that the book is Anger, the Misunderstood Emotion, and there are lots of examples inside of different kinds of people's reactions to situations, befores and afters, and what they are wishing to do. And one of my favorite chapters was some of the ways we express, like the shouters and sulkers and grouches and scolders, because I think we all kind of fall into those categories at different times. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on the show.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a break, folks, and when we come back, John's going to be visiting with Nathan Pritikin, who has a plan to change your life in 28 days. We'll be back.
Do you have a lawyer? Most Americans don't. That's why we started Hyatt Legal Services, a new kind of law firm now with offices throughout the country where you can discuss your problem with an attorney for just $20. And for cases like divorce, bankruptcy, and wills, we have standard fees that are very reasonable. At Hyatt Legal Services, we care about you. I'm Joel Hyatt, and you've got my word on it.
Call the Hyatt office nearest you or 257-1900 for an appointment.
Leap to big store-wide discounts. It's Murphy's Mart Dollar Days. A package of 3 men's BVDV or crew neck t-shirts, $7. BVD briefs, $6. Primrose Park all-cotton bath towels, $3. Hand towels, $2. Washcloths, 2 for $3. Make a magnificent pillow with a complete kit, $5. A 13-inch color television set, only $179. Poly-cotton twill pants, smartly priced at $11. Classic Oxford shirts at $6. It's now. It's Dollar Days. It's Murphy's Mart.
Wanna see your home in a whole new light.
Brighten your home with the beauty and craftsmanship of lamps from Stifel. Take your choice of Stifel lamps at Cardello this week. You'll get the quality you expect from Stifel and the savings you expect from Cardello.
Say hello to Cardello. Cardello, hello.
If you're unemployed or have been during the 1983 tax year, KDKA TV and the IRS can help you tackle those confusing returns. Our free weekly tax seminars will answer your filing questions and offer information on new tax laws affecting you. Remember, an accurate return means a speedy refund. Join us at the Bell Auditorium Wednesday at 3 o'clock. To register, call 392-2589. KDKA and the IRS, keeping tax season from taxing you.
Well, of course, there's a lot of weather out there today, and it's not too pleasant. We're going to go right down to the newsroom, to the Eyewitness Weather Center, where John Pritikin is standing by to update the weather for you. Here he is.
Well, things are still going pretty hot and heavy throughout western Pennsylvania right now, but still the worst is yet to come. State of emergency has been declared in the state of Ohio. The snow continues to come down. Let's take a look at the very latest National Weather Service close-up picture. You can see the low-pressure center is now located in the vicinity about 10 or 15 miles southeast of Uniontown, Pennsylvania. West of the center, there's a big area of snow, and some of that snow is headed our way. Here are some snowfall amounts: 10 inches at Canton, Akron, 12 inches at Cleveland, 11 at Erie, and 10 inches at nearby Youngstown. Now, a quick look at National Weather Service radar will show you that we have precipitation moving in from the west, the south, and the north. So even though it may not be snowing in your area at the present time, we do expect snow to overspread the Pittsburgh area and continue off and on the balance of the afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow. We expect already 2 inches on the ground at the airport, another 2 inches by 7 o'clock this evening, and a few more inches before it's all over tomorrow morning. This is the very latest information that we do have available. And now back to John and Pittsburgh today.
Good, thanks to John Parisi. Well, I have to report to you that new research shows that running and other vigorous sports can cause death if you're eating a typical American diet, which makes it very clear that the right diet is crucial, and those whole list of considerations is the very basis for the new book written by Nathan Pritikin. As you know, he's written a previous book and has been for years a pioneer in the field of exercise and good nutrition. Let's give Nathan Pritikin a nice, well, warm today. Pittsburgh, welcome. Well, I know it's not as warm as Santa Barbara, but it's still kind of nice.
I think it's fine.
You don't, Matt. Originally, where are you from?
I'm from Chicago.
Oh, so you're used to some cold weather.
Oh, sure. I lived in Chicago for 42 years.
Oh, so you're used to cold weather.
Right.
Now, before we get into your new program, which is called 28 Days to a Longer, Healthier Life, just briefly for people who are not familiar with you, and there are very few of those, but you speak from experience, because in the mid part, well, what we would call middle age for most people, although you look like a young man, but you're older than you look, you were not feeling too well, right?
When I was 40 years old, I developed rather serious heart disease because my cholesterol was very high. It was about 300 in those days. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what that means a little later on in the show. But I was almost put away to pasture, and that's when I decided to go on this dietary program, which I knew I should have.
How did you decide? Because you didn't have particularly nutritional background, did you?
Well, actually, I've been studying this for at least 20 years, and about 5 years before I was diagnosed as having serious heart disease, I knew that the diet of those countries where there is no heart disease was a diet that I now call the Pritkin diet. Mm-hmm. It's really the diet of the undeveloped countries, where the undeveloped populations where heart disease and breast cancer are almost never found.
Okay, now for what, almost 30 years, I guess you've been on it?
Yes, because I'll be 70 next year, and so I've been on it for almost 30 years.
Okay. Now, getting back to the warning that you have on here about new research shows that running and other vigorous sports can cause death if you're eating a typical American diet. Is the real problem the diet or the lack of exercise, or the combination?
Well, obviously, if marathon runners are dropping dead while they're running, it can't be exercise.
Okay.
Yes. In my chapter, I call it Run and Die on the American Diet. Mm-hmm. People who are active people think they can run off all that extra cholesterol. Cholesterol cannot be used for energy. You can't metabolize it. If you eat more cholesterol than the body can stand, and everyone on the American diet does, it fills up your coronary arteries, and you drop dead while you're running. I document daily cases of marathon runners dropping dead, and some are world class. Non-smokers, lean.
Mm-hmm. There's no chance that they're just over-exercising, that's the problem.
Look at Arthur Ashe, a tennis player. Have you ever heard of Arthur Ashe?
Oh, sure. No, yeah, when he was 36, he had a heart attack.
Right, at age 36, one of his 3 coronary arteries completely closed. Mm-hmm. And the doctor said, Arthur, it's got to be hereditary because your cholesterol is only 265. Well, in countries where they don't have heart disease, no one's cholesterol is over 160.
Yeah, actually, you recommend it should be 100 plus your age, right?
100 plus your age with a maximum of 150 or 60. And now that's been confirmed by the National Institutes of Health last month. I don't know if you've noticed their...
No, I didn't see the findings. Unfortunately, most doctors have been saying in the last decade or so that they would allow 200 plus your age.
Yes, that was before last month. Last month, the National Institutes of Health $150 million 10-year study came out, and they said we now have conclusively proven, no question, that it's the extra cholesterol in your blood that causes heart disease, and heart disease deaths. And you've got to get your cholesterol below 160 or else you're at risk.
Okay, now, but some of it can be hereditary, or some of it is your eating habits.
1 out of 500 is hereditary.
1 out of 500, so
right.
Most all of them, obviously, your eating habits. So what are the real bugaboos, the really bad parts of the American diet?
The worst part about the American diet are the dairy products, cheeses, and so on, butter, and eggs, egg yolks. 3 egg yolks have as much cholesterol as 1.5 pounds of steak.
Yet some people and some nutritionists say that, well, eggs have lecithin in them, natural lecithin.
Certainly has, and that makes the cholesterol smooth in easier into your arteries and close them faster.
So it doesn't actually lessen either your cholesterol or your triglycerides or anything?
No, because lecithin is 100% fat. Mm-hmm. And to say you should eat fat to lower your fat levels of course, doesn't make much sense.
So you're saying, do you recommend in your diet that you lay off all dairy products?
Well, no, we can use dairy products, but they're all non-fat. We use non-fat milk, non-fat yogurt, and so on.
Okay, not low-fat, but non-fat.
No. Low-fat means 25% of its calories in fat.
Okay.
A pound of cheese has 75% of its calories in butter. It's 3/4 butter.
What do you put on your toast?
Toast, when you have whole wheat bread, it tastes so good you don't put anything on. But if you want to, we have a terrific blueberry jam and other jams you can use.
Without sugar?
No. Oh, sure. It tastes better than with sugar.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, could you maybe delineate further your diet? What things to avoid,
sure,
what things to eat, and then how a person at any age could get on the right exercise program? Because you say in here, right, some people who lead a sedentary life have less chance of dying than those people who are out there running the marathons.
If they're on the American diet, they have less chance.
Right, okay, not on this diet. Okay, going to take a break and come back and talk further about Nathan Pritikin's 28-day program for a longer, healthier life. Be right back.
There is a fragrance that is the essence of a timeless style. Lauren, the fragrance by Ralph Lauren. Lauren is beyond the passing whims of fashion. It is a fragrance of lasting warmth and enduring style. Lauren, the essence of a timeless style. The Lauren Shopping Essentials, just $17.50 with any $13 purchase. Available at Kaufmann's.
Yes, we'll have a pan pizza with pepperoni and Italian sausage.
So will we. Plus beef and pork toppings.
Yeah, us too, plus onions.
And ham.
Mushrooms.
Black olives.
Green peppers.
There's just one name for a pizza like that. Pizza Hut Super Supreme Pan Pizza. 9 most delicious toppings on America's most popular dinner pizza.
Super.
Super Supreme.
At your hometown Pizza Hut.
At Foodland, save more with double coupons, triple bonus coupons, and super specials like Tide detergent and a 3-pound 1-ounce box, just $1.79 with coupon. Indian River white grapefruit in the 5-pound bag, only 99 cents. Foodland frozen orange juice in the 12-ounce can, just 83 cents. And Tender Best USDA choice round steak bone-in by the piece, just $1.69 a pound.
At Foodland, you save the most on the brands you want.
Casino is milk. Casino is mild. Casino is mild natural cheese with no preservatives. Casino is mild natural cheese, like mozzarella, marvelous melted on pizza or pasta. Casino natural cheese from Kraft, a wholesome family of natural cheeses that are made to be mild.
The best years of your life may very well lie ahead. Discover how to make the most of them in Aging. Everybody's Doing It. Wednesday at 8 on TV2.
Patty Burns and Ray Tannehill tonight at 6.
We're talking today with Nathan Pritikin, the author of the Pritkin Promise, and we're talking about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, and how you should exercise. And we were talking about cancer during the commercial break. You were saying a new finding by the Cancer Society.
Yes,
says what?
both the National Cancer Institute, that's your tax-supported $1 billion a year agency for cancer research, and the American Cancer Society 2 weeks ago came out and said that breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer, the principal cause is simply the ordinary amount of fats in your diet and nothing else. No heredity, no stress, and polyunsaturated oils like safflower oil, corn oil, in animal studies double the risk of colon cancer than if you had butter or lard. In their optimal diet, to completely eliminate risk of these problems, no butter, margarine, or oils, all nuts and seeds out because they're 75% fat.
All nuts and seeds?
Because they're 75% fat. And also all dairy products, non-fat.
So you can build up cholesterol in your blood with other than animal products, right?
Fat and cholesterol are different.
Are different. Okay,
Yes.
so we're trying to avoid fat or cholesterol or both?
Cholesterol only comes from animal products, but fat you can have from vegetable products like corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower seed oil, avocados, peanuts.
Okay. So you're saying avoid all. I thought I read last night here that you said chestnuts are okay. Or
chestnuts are fine, only 6% of the calories in fat.
But all other things like peanuts, cashews.
There's 75% of the calories in fat.
Get rid of all of those, right?
Right.
What other things should we get rid of?
Well, you don't need any supplements on this kind of program. You get them all from your natural foods.
So no vitamins?
Completely unnecessary, could be harmful.
Okay, you were saying, of course, vitamin C could be harmful, large doses of A and D could be harmful.
Certainly can.
So what you're saying is that if you eat properly, if you follow your program, then you wouldn't need supplements. But you agree that some people who are in highly polluted areas or are not eating a proper diet could help themselves by having some vitamins?
No, I don't believe so, because vitamin deficiencies are almost unheard of in this country. Out of the 2 million deaths a year, do you know how many vitamin deficiency deaths there were last year?
Oh,
out of 2 million. 1 million people die of too much cholesterol. That's heart disease. 400,000 from too much fat. That's the cancers. 19 die of vitamin deficiencies.
Okay, well, that makes the point.
Right.
So what other things? I noticed you said we should avoid soybeans, tofu,
Well,
except when they're used as substitutes for...
You can use them occasionally, but soybeans are 37% fat, too high fat.
Now, it seems in the natural scheme of things over the history of mankind that here's a cow, here's milk, here are things that seem very natural.
Let me tell you how long ago that happened. Domestication of dairy animals is only 5,000 or 6,000 years old. Before that, for hundreds of thousands of years, no human ever tasted dairy products after they were weaned. And dairy products are domesticated in only limited parts of the world. 2/3 of the world's population today has never tasted dairy products after they were weaned and never will for the rest of their lives.
How about the fact of eating meat, red meat?
Red meat is fine as long as it's not feedlot cattle. Feedlot cattle has 5 times as much fat as range-fed or grass-fed. Range-fed cattle is just as good as chicken.
Is that possible to know that when you go into a market, sometimes it'll say it, and sometimes
No, it won't say it. You've got to ask for it. You've got to say, I want some utility or commercial beef without the USDA stamp on it, because if the USDA grades it, it's not any good. It's feedlot. It's marble beef. And they'll say, but that's only for animals. And you say, well, I've got a large dog at home.
Oh. Okay. When did you discover that fact, some of these facts, especially that one?